You are referring to Bersih. Personally, how do you think he handled the Bersih?
Well, there are a lot of people involved in that. I don't know. I would have allowed. Of course, there are also worries. There are also worries. Naturally, there are worries. But I would have allowed the procession right from the beginning. Or say, we are going to allow the procession, but you have to sit down with the police and discuss the route that you should take so that there will be minimal disruption to the public. Full stop. Then there will be no noise at all. Nothing about Bersih and this and that in the newspapers and whatnot. So they will be just Bersih would have just got half a day's publicity instead of 2 months publicity. Every day people, suddenly they became a national force, big force. They were a small group, actually. They were a very small group of individuals. And so the government has built up them to be a big giant, So I would have handled that differently. So what you need is just some big traffic policemen to guide the procession. But of course, as a precaution, the riot squad, etc., can be far away, stationed somewhere, hidden, just in case these people misbehave. They can be around somewhere, hidden somewhere, fully prepared. And they can go to that place within 5 minutes, within 3 minutes, if they are, these demonstrators start misbehaving, So it would have been just a half a day demonstration, and the world would not have taken notice of it, and it would have been all over. That's my view.
Do you think there's a potential voter backlash with the way Prime Minister Najib handled the Bersih?
There's what? Sorry?
Potential voter backlash. People getting angry, voting against.
I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure about that. I didn't think about that. But times have changed. It's very important for the government to realize. I have been through it all, from Tengku Brahman, Tun Razak, and so on. Those days, people are very, not vocal. They are very quiet. They accept things. They trust the leaders, and a lot of them also not very educated. But now it's 2011. We are dealing with a very educated population, and they also have access to all sorts of information. So it's a different world altogether. Najib, we cannot equate Najib with Tengku Brahman or Tun Razak. You see? So, but Najib has to adjust himself to this new situation, where he's dealing with a very, very educated population, who are very fussy, who are very choosy, who are very conscious of their rights and so on. So how do you handle it? So it has to be a change from the past. A change from the past. We have a certain style of dealing with this kind of situation in the past. But those days we do not have the internet, we do not have the blogs, people not very educated, people not very conscious of their rights, and they couldn't care less because they trusted the government. And now we have a very vocal opposition, a strong opposition, who almost control half of the population. The popular votes in the 2008 election is almost 48%. In spite of the fact that the opposition didn't have the media, didn't have the money, didn't have the people, the prominent people and so on to help them, yet almost 48% of the rakyat voted the opposition. I think Najib would do very, very well if he starts engaging the people, engaging the opposition. Engaging the opposition. For example, now, we take the example of President Obama. He engages the Republicans. He really engages them. He even have some prominent Republicans in his administration, in his government. in his cabinet. So, ultimately they had an agreement on the budget, the Republican, Democrat, and so on. So if you really engage people, there's always the good sense of the people. Sometimes people cannot be unreasonable, cannot appear to be unreasonable or unfair. This will only come if you engage them.
But why do you think is there a reluctance? I mean, this call for the current government or the administration to engage with the opposition is not new, Tan Sri. So why is there a reluctance to do this?
Well, I do not know. You should ask them. But I'm very happy that there are certain voices also being, lately, the last few days, for example, Datuk Sri Nazri, looks like he is all for engaging, various views. There is this gentleman, Deputy Minister of Higher Education, Saifuddin, he is also for engagement, And even the UMNO youth lately, Khairi Jamaluddin and one or two of his strongmen, have also been making statements which are very encouraging. For example, they also are talking about, yes, we really have to look at it to ensure that the election is truly clean and fair. They made a statement, all right? And they were very angry when the Ministry of Home Affairs started blanking some of this paragraph in the magazine Economist. The old style, you just black out. Doesn't make sense at all. So they're making this kind of statements. So I'm very happy. I hope their party leaders will give them allowance. During our time, I was an UMNO Youth ESCO member for 10 years. Oh, we're completely free. Completely free. Completely free. We can say anything we like. And our leaders allow us to do it. And we can have a dialogue session with them. So, for a long time, we didn't have that kind of freedom anymore in our party. But I hope, if the government wants to attract the young, they must allow their youth wings, to have real freedom, of dissent.
Okay, Tan Sri, as an UMNO member, what do you feel is the difference between what UMNO was back then and what UMNO is now?
Okay, UMNO back then, when a person becomes an UMNO member, more so if he start holding a position in UMNO, he knows, 100%, he knows that he is there in a position of sacrifice. He is there to serve. It is not a position or where you can have opportunities to make things for yourself. You are there just to serve. In fact, that's the place where you spend your money, your time, and so on, not the other way around. But unfortunately, things have changed now over the years. And now a lot of people think UMNO is a place where they can, acquire money, acquire power, etc., etc. So this, as a person who has gone through the ages from Tengku until now, the changing of values is very obvious. This is being said openly by the leaders themselves. Datuk Najib said, kita mesti berubah. Jika tidak, kita akan diubah. Mahyudin says that. So both Najib and Mahyudin goes around the country lecturing for change. Say they know the penyakit. But now they got to stop for a while and see how to get these things implemented. The time for action, is now. No more, no need to talk anymore.
In that situation, in UMNO currently, you see that most of the members are there for connections, networks, for businesses and things like that, for contracts. So how do you think Prime Minister Najib can survive in that environment? He's trying to push on these various reforms, but it's even unpopular within UMNO. So how do you think he's going to fare?
Not is unpopular Islam. No, they'll just keep quiet. Najib talks about that the people should change their way of life. UMNO members should go down the ground and so on. Now I think the leaders now should stop for a while and see how they get it done. It's not enough just to make speeches and to urge people to change, but they must really make sure that this is done. How do you ensure that? That's, I think, the big challenge for the BN leadership. And we hope through our amanah to be helping also along that line. How do you tackle corruption? How do you tackle cronyism? How do you tackle leakages? And we have our various opinions. You are asking about what we are going to do. Yeah, we are going to meet various leaders, tell us our opinion. We have one of the important position in our Central Council is Bureau of Policy Research. So we are going to get intellectuals who will research on various subjects and so on, and then this one will forward to the government.
When is there any expected date for you to try and arrange a meeting with the leaders or Prime Minister?
No, after the Raya lah.
After Raya.